talk people?
No, look, I'm a volunteer.
You're a volunteer.
I try to be helpful.
I see. So you're kind of hanging around and wearing a little Trump hat and a button, and then if anybody wants donuts, they can flip a coin and who gets them, right?
Well, occasionally I give advice. Try to be helpful.
Now, tell me about that though. Does he call you, or do you call him, or does Manafort, the campaign manager, call you? How does that work?
Well, look, we all chat. I mean, this is a very interesting team. Paul Manafort's done an amazing job of, I think, moving it down the road from where it was. Trump is very open to ideas. Sometimes I call him, sometimes he calls me.
Is there a conference call in the morning? Do you have
Not that I'm on. I'm not part of the official campaign.
No.
I'm just somebody who knows Trump pretty well and who knows a little bit about politics. And
do they call you and do they say to you, "Hey, get on the O'Reilly factor and tell him this"? And
oh no, they would never do that.
They don't do that. So you're
they
making your
know
own
that
calls.
They know that any phoniness on your show is death.
Yeah.
And they would never ask me to do anything.
But do they ask you to go out and talk to certain people about
Sure.
certain issues?
Yeah, they'd love to have me chat about various things, and a lot of it's pretty obvious. This is a choice is very big. I do a lot of Facebook Live. I do a lot of Twitter. I communicate with a couple million people that way, and I think it's interesting to sort of keep track of what's going on, both in the Democratic Party and in the Republican Party.
Now, I thought this Tim Kaine selection was a good one. I like Senator Kaine. I think he's an honest man. I didn't like he took some baksheesh, which is the Arabic word for gratuity, when he was a governor in Virginia, but the law let him do it. I didn't think that was good. But by and large, he's had a pretty good career in politics. He looks like an honest man. Am I wrong?
No, I think he is as good a choice as Hillary Clinton could have made. He's fluent in Spanish from days as a missionary. He is very strong in Virginia, and I think he's a pretty solid guy. I think a debate between Kaine and Pence will be a very interesting debate.
Will anybody watch that debate?
Guys.
Is there anybody on earth going to watch Pence versus Kaine? I mean, where are they going to hold that thing?
Look, who knows?
They're both very smart, but they're dry. I mean, they're not. It's not.
Well, it's fair to say you won't have the reality TV show effect that you're going to have.
The other one will be the highest rated debate of all time. Now, did she pick Kaine to get Virginia nailed down, or to kind of send a signal that she's not really coming back from the far left? She wants to be a centrist.
Well, I think there are three things. One was she couldn't go to the hard left for a candidate. It would have been too much. Second, Kaine does help in Virginia. And third, he is fluent in Spanish. And at a time when apparently they concluded that they could not put a Latino on the ticket for whatever reason, he's probably as good as you can get. He can be on Univision, Telemundo, etc., and make an effective case.
Okay, so you say he's a good choice, and
Sure.
I thought it was a good choice. I mean, because and I want you to comment on this. I don't believe that any endorsements from anybody are going to sway any voters. It's just Trump versus Hillary. That's it. You decide. It doesn't matter who likes him, who else is going to vote for him. That's it.
Yeah, in the end, you vote for the presidential nominee. Occasionally, a vice presidential candidate can hurt you. They very seldom, except maybe for Lyndon Johnson in 1960, which was unusual, they very seldom are significant assets. And I think in this case, both Pence and Kaine are going to do their job. But the real game, when you saw it Thursday night in Trump's speech, which I thought was very effective, and the polls indicate was very effective, Trump began to lay out a really big divide between where Hillary is and where he is. And I think the voters in the polls indicate that they sort of agree with Trump.
Now, did you hear my talking points memo? Where
I did.
Okay. Do you believe that Trump is trying to terrify people into voting for him?
No. I think the elite media is crazy. I think they're all in their little enclaves. They're in their little enclaves and they say, oh, there's really no problem with crime. Tell that to the 3,400 people killed in Chicago since Obama was sworn in.
And they don't cover that story. Right. You ever notice that?
There's not really a problem with refugees. Tell that to the Germans who, again today, for the fourth time this week, had a refugee kill somebody. I mean, you look around, if you're a normal person and you don't have these blinders on from your cocktail drinking friends in the news media, you look at the real world, you don't have a good enough job, your friends are working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, you worry about the economy, you're not sure when your kid graduates he's going to get work, you're worried about crime in America, you're worried about terrorism overseas, and the liberals want to tell you that everything's fine.
Everything's good. And open borders would be swell for everybody because that's what they're pushing next. Final question. Is Hillary Clinton going to have to distance herself from Barack Obama's economic policies?
Well, she's going to have to try to do something, but here's her real crisis. If she can't get President Obama and Michelle Obama to maximize black turnout in November, she's dead. I mean, if they conclude that she's not the real deal, so she can't get very far away from Obama because she is desperate to have a very, very large black turnout. And if she does not get that, this election's over and Donald Trump's president.
Do you think Obama's going to go on the road a lot and try to mobilize that support?
I think he's got a hard problem. We found in 2014 and 15 he couldn't transfer his popularity.
What's he doing going on the road campaigning when he should
just
be
couldn't turn people out. They know
worried about
not
fixing
him.
the country?
And he doesn't like going on the road to those things.
Why is there anybody asking that
I don't
question?
think it's a deep affection for everybody.
The country and the world's a mess. Shouldn't have
Big,
time to
appreciate
campaign
you
for
checking in. Good
Hillary.
luck, at the campaign headquarters and the volunteering and all that.
Insane.
Good.
And now let's go to Britt Hume, who is in Philly this evening and doing what I don't know.
Sitting here waiting to talk to you, Bill.
I know. But you get paid so handsomely to do that. Now, you were telling me in the break that 36 years you've been covering this stuff, right? 36 years, these conventions and all that?
40 years.
40 years.
First convention was 1976.
Now, when you go to these conventions, do you see anything different than you saw back in the Hoover administration or whatever it was when you started?
Conventions used to be pretty tumultuous. They would be sometimes back in the day. They were, the candidate would be undecided, and it would be, have to have a lot of ballots before they even nominated the candidate. That's been gone for years. There used to be platform fights over planks on the platform. There sometimes were fights over competing delegations that wanted to be seated. All of that stuff has been gone for a long time. And these conventions, for quite a number of cycles now, Bill, have simply been 4-day shows designed to showcase each party's nominee in the most favorable possible light. That's what we're looking at here, although this is
a
getting
big propaganda
a
fest on both sides.
Well, that's the attempt that's made, and it kind of turns.
But Ted Cruz, he turned that over, though, didn't?
Well,
you got to give Ted a little credit. He turned that whole thing over.
He did, and so far events have